Hey, it's Mike with the Event Leadership Institute, and today I'm at ILEA Live in Calgary with David Adler and Kevin White. It's nice to see you guys.
Great,
Nice to see you, Mike.
So we just finished an amazing session here at ILEA Live. It was a welcome session, and it was all about Ruckus. Tell me about it. What happened at the session?
So the concept or the idea behind a ruckus is instant disruption. You could think disruption might be somebody rolling a case right in front of you, or it could be the idea of what's going to impact us or affect us. For us, making noise, things are going to make noise in our industry, and we wanted to say to ourselves, we've got a voice on pushing back against those things. So anything that's disruptive to us, we want to predict, think through how can we roll with it, what are the opportunities in it, and that's what really this session was all about. It was lively and talking and interactivity.
And you're talking about disruption, and you gave a couple of examples of disruptions in other industries too.
That's right, and for us, if you're thinking about things like media content, what Netflix did, if you're thinking about shopping and what Amazon's done, if you're thinking about transportation and what Uber's done, these things crushed traditional businesses who never saw them coming. And for us, we wanted to take the responsibility of saying, let's think ahead of the game so we don't fight the crush, we ride with it.
And so you created an engaging session, and you got the discussion happening. What did we learn from this?
Well, first of all, before we even learned, we disrupted the crowd by making them get up and change their seats, which is a very simple technique, but it actually kind of worked really well. And they did it in 30 seconds.
That's right, and I think what made it harder was you had to find people you didn't know. The one comfort zone is I'm with people I know at a conference, and we said enough of that. You're going to be talking to people you've never heard talk before.
What was also interesting, we did not plan this so specifically. We didn't know what we were going to really even talk about until we did a cloud of input from people after giving them time to talk. And we would never even thought about doing some of these things.
That's right.
So what's the big takeaway? What do we get from all the discussion?
Well, the one thing that I've heard was instant gratification. I would never even thought about that as the issue. And I also didn't even realize that it's the issue about being in a company that does it. It's about an attendee. And it's actually every hand went up when people were facing that issue.
What I also find amazing is we all have these fears of these things. We all agree on these things, but everybody feels so alone. We're in a world of instant access and huge nexus of connection points with people through whatever media you want, and yet we still feel like we're on our own island and we don't know enough, and we stay in our bubble. And it was amazing to finally allow people the ability to say, start talking about this and don't worry about you don't know enough or what have you. Contribute, move on, let's get to ideas, let's share, and then move forward.
And the fact that everybody had the same feelings of insecurity about the topic, and they didn't quite know what to do, but they think there's a little more comfort now that they know that other people are thinking about it.
And that's the benefit of going to events like ILEA Live, to be able to feel like you're not alone as well. So what's the big takeaway about instant gratification? So what were people saying?
Well, I think that a lot of people feel first, it's here. Between Amazon, print companies, we are getting to the point of the Jetsons of I want it, push a button, the door opens, and there it is. And I think that a lot of people feel a little bit threatened by the customized nature of some of the things we produce. That we produce things that are designed, that are bespoke experiences, and the off the shelf is going to really start threatening that everything's commoditized. That was a big fear there, but I think people felt there are ways around it, and you have to find where it's not going to disrupt. What are the things that can't be disrupted by that? I think also there was a level of setting a client's expectation as to why instant is bad.
Yes.
And anyone who's had instant coffee knows why instant is bad.
That's a very good point. that is a great point. But it is something that's a fact of life. And the fact is that we have to adapt or die. And I think you're seeing that with the younger planners. They're used to going online and finding a solution like that. They're now going to be used to going and finding a venue that's all decked out for them exactly the way they want it without spending any extra money. And that hurts a lot of event organizers. So they have to figure out other ways of substituting that revenue.
Okay. And is there a fear of the disruption, or is it, as an industry, should we be more prepared for it or fearful of it? What should we be doing?
It's definitely a pain point. People are, it's not fear, oh my God, what's going to happen? People are already feeling it. And so I think that it's very real and not necessarily unfounded. That was what really came across right now, and the speed of acceleration of it is only, we're all feeding into it. probably made 20 Amazon Prime purchases in the last 2 months, and
Yeah, that does. But it also comes down to the attendee experience too. The idea that came across not waiting on lines, and how do you use technology to make your life easier as an attendee, or else you're going to get bored and leave.
that's right.
So it's adapting as opposed to fighting the disruption. Is that right? Yeah.
Totally.
I think, though, there's also a notion of, somebody once said the digital watch didn't kill the mechanical watch. In fact, it upped its value. And we might see a pendulum swing of events that aren't disrupted by phones. In the same way that restaurants are now more valuable when smoking stopped.
Right.
The banning of things, the free space of not being crushed by constant data and messaging and disruptions to your day, that might actually become a thing.
But there's a thing in media called the dominant media theory, and it talks about how theater, when radio came, people thought no one would go to the theater. And when television came, they thought no one would listen to the radio. And every one of those industries became higher quality once they became less mass. And so the bespoke aspect of it actually raised the margins and made them even better.
So what you're saying is we're all going to be higher quality as planners.
The higher quality planners, producers will remain, and it might not be as pervasive, but you're going to get a better quality. And then I think new markets will emerge in designing it, and that's where the switch comes. It might not be killing half of the industry off. It might be just lopping off a certain level of company and then adding new markets to the higher quality end.
And so if you were to give a tip to planners about what they can do to either prepare for the disruption or be aware of things, what would you say? What should they be doing to get ready for a disruption?
One of the things that I always say, especially with something like, hey, it's cultural, it's instant gratification, what do you feel? Stop thinking that there's a nebulous people out there. What do you do? How do you react? What is your feeling of those things? And say to yourself, how can I plan what I would really like? And if it's something where you say, I'm never going to not do that, chances are you have to prepare yourself to say, I need to roll with this in some way. Middlemen went away when the internet came. They all had to find new jobs because we could all find the source of whatever people wanted in an event.
Yeah.
And it's going to start happening with people who take too much time to say, no, it's going to take 2 weeks for you to get this because that's how fast we move.
I call event organizing programming of human interaction. And I think that an event organizer has to become a real programmer to make sure that the people in the room are feeling what this event is about and connecting with people, so the value of coming to an event is even better because of how they're constructing the programming of the event itself.
You could say, there was a career at one point of carrying ice up steps in New York apartments. Ice carriers would put ice in a refrigerator. They're all gone, and now technicians come to do the computer in your refrigerator. That same thing, you may have to switch your skill set within the event discipline in order to say, you might have to become an expert on security. You might have to become a sustainability expert. You might have to say, this is something that isn't off the shelf. And so that may shift, but your presence in the event industry might not go away.
So continuing education in the industry is absolutely crucial.
Well, also,
Utterly crucial.
I think one of the things that I learned from this is that subject expertise is going to become more valuable than anything. Knowing really one thing really, really well, as opposed to everything just a little.
There you go. Well, Kevin, thank you so much, and thank you, David. It was such an awesome session. So much engagement too from the audience. Speaking of live events, it was really great session to attend. And of course, Kevin is one of our instructors at the Event Leadership Institute. He teaches the Event and Meeting Management Fundamentals course. So check that out, and don't forget to follow Event Leadership Institute on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time.